Welcome. Your ship will arrive momentarily. In the meantime, we ask that you secure any delicate cargo, such as children or immature individuals, in the loading bay. Loose items like fragile egos, endless mental chatter, political fantasy, and religious dogma are prohibited. As we prepare for departure, please be advised that the challenges this mission holds offer particularly significant risks to the mind, heart, and will of the explorer, and the odds of survival as you know them are extremely low. Your bravery in the face of this great adversity inspires us all.
I'm trying to save you and your family's life. I'm giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
We are not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Are you ready to free your mind from those silly-ass chains? Well, buckle up, friends, because you are watching the baddest show in the Milky Way. Take aim or take cover while we annihilate ignorance, deception, and slavery in all its forms. Welcome to the Holy Warship Podcast.
You're not getting away from the long arm of natural law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Holy Warship Podcast. My name is Aaron Butler, and today we're going to be talking about the takeover or the tech over of the world, basically with technology. We're going to get into technology in a way that no one actually really thinks about every day. And so I'm really excited to bring it to you because technology is so different than what we're seeing it as like these things going on all around us, right? So, yep, I would like to just thank everyone for tuning in. Just going to give some updates, little behind on the uploads. And so, maybe doing a Wednesday show and the live stream every week or 2 every week is going to be a little bit much. So I'm going to have to draw back. And what I will say, and I'm going to revise this and say that I'm going to put out something every week. And so whatever it is, whatever it's going to look like I said in the first episode, everything is like a box of chocolates around here, and I'm still figuring out what works best for me and in my schedule. So the very first episode, we talked about all the different things going on in the news cycle, right? And this is why the Warship Podcast is so special, is because I'm gonna mix in the news cycle and mix in common events and bring it back to first principles and bring everything back into a new layer and shine light on the occult aspects of this world that we're living in. So without further ado, episode 2, the tech over. I'm really excited to bring you this one because it's really going to shine, it's going to shine a light on all the different ways that technology, influences our lives. And we're going to take a look at technology that we don't really always see as technology. So let's get into that. Couple, housekeeping tasks and duties we got to cover, obviously. So the Holy Warship Podcast is brought to you by the One Great Work Network, and I'm going to be getting all my content uploaded there very soon. I went over this last week. The One Great Work Network is a group of like-minded individuals who are trying to end slavery. And slavery takes many forms. However, in the modern day and age, it's covert slavery. And most people don't see what we exist in and the world that we live in as slavery. So the One Great Work Network is just a amazing wheelhouse of people and heavy hitters who are trying to remove slavery from the minds of the world. And you'll never find a combination of eclectic people like this. You have some awesome people on here. And yep, I'm really proud to be a part of the One Great Work Network. And you should go check it out. Consider donating and check out the live stream schedule because, there's some awesome live streams on there. And so another thing that I would like everyone to do is to please check out my presentation, Everything You Should Already Know. It is an awesome presentation because I run through, billions of years of human evolution and events that have happened in just 2 hours and 16 minutes. So, this is just to get some juices flowing for those who, want to find out deeper information and want to find out what's really going on in the world. You learn about secret societies, manifestation, the occult, mythology, the birth of civilization. These are things that nobody is talking about, and this is really important if you want to understand what the Holy Warship podcast is and where my viewpoint comes from. So go check out Everything You Should Already Know. It is a brief reminder of the human condition. I know a lot of people don't like to sit around for 2 hours, but I'm telling you, it'll be worth it, and it will really get those juices flowing. So other than that, please consider donating to me. It would really help, and I do this all on unmonetized networks. And so, I just take the time out of my life to do this, and if any donations really help supplement the time that I take out of, making money and having a career and, running a business. So there's a couple different ways that you can donate. If you would like to see something in return for, a donation, this is my company, Newport Mushroom, where we have 2 products at the moment, and they are just amazing mushroom supplements. One is an organic tincture, an organic lion's mane tincture, and the other is a blend of lion's mane mushroom, cordyceps mushroom, and ashwagandha root. And it is really packed in there. It's a very simple ingredient list, and I take it every day. It's awesome. It is my product. This is a way that it's not a donation, it's a purchase, and this is my business. So you would be supporting me and my family in a more formal way, and you would be getting something in return. So please consider doing that. Okay, so now that we've covered that stuff, couple warnings. This show is for mature audiences only. And so I really recommend that people who are watching really buckle up and buckle in, because we're talking about subjects that are, shocking to most people who haven't begun this journey. And, please keep that in mind. So, stable audiences, I would like to hope and ask that, you do your best to take some deep breaths and stabilize yourself, because these things, if you already have a hard time understanding or getting a grip on things, or you just have a hard time in general, this can really upset the mental foundation of things that you really depend on. So also, like I always say, the caveat is that, if you're not stable and you're having a hard time, or you're going through a really difficult time mentally or psychologically, this show might offer some help in a different way to look at things and reasons for why you see things the way you do. The other warning is that I am not perfect. I am a flawed human being, and I make mistakes, and I definitely do my best, and I am here, not to, be better than anyone or to be Mr. Cool Guy. I am just here to share the truth, and sharing the truth in a silly or imperfect way is better than not sharing the truth at all. And so another thing is that I come from the perspective that we are late. Humanity really, really needs to catch up and get up to speed and take advantage of the opportunity that we have to get out of the mess we're in and power through it, because it's our only hope is actually facing the truth and looking into to some of these things that we're going to talk about today. So I don't want to be believed. I'm really asking everyone not to believe me and to do their own research. This podcast is not a replacement for research. I really encourage everyone to verify and check all of these things that I am talking about. So another statement and disclaimer I would like to make is that you make your own choices. I'm not responsible for any actions that anyone takes, obviously, and what you do on your time is your choice. Yep. All I'm offering is a little bit of information and some critical information that most people should understand. Okay. I stand against violence. I want everyone to know this because the world is a crazy place, and I don't want anyone to mince my words and to think that I mean something that I don't. So just as a basic rule of thumb is that Aaron Butler stands against violence, and I do also stand with self-defense. So these two things are most people don't know the difference between self-defense and violence. Most people assume that they're the same. However, they are not the same. Just as a heads up. Okay, so we are about to get into part 1 of the takeover or takeover. And this is pretty cool because, a lot of people were talking about all the technology, all the satellites, all the monitoring, the surveillance. And, we talked about it in the last podcast and live stream about how, everything is being observed and everything is being recorded and tracked and everyone's being watched. It's pretty wild when you get into it, and when people start waking up, it can be really overwhelming to find out what is going on around us and, just how much of an influence and impact that technology has on our lives. And so this podcast, in the first part, in part 1, we are going to be talking about the OG technology, the original technology from which all technology is based off of. And it might not be what you think, but nevertheless, it is absolutely crucial for humanity to understand, this other side of technology, and actually which this original OG technology is what most technology is trying to augment or replace. So let's get into it. So mind is the very first technology. It is the fundamental non-local intelligence from which all consciousness and reality arise. Mind manages, directs, and shapes the infinite field of consciousness into a form that is orderly and understandable. So this obviously transcends what we're talking about when we think of the individual mind, right? Ourself and our own mind. Mind actually is the fundamental intelligence that facilitates the perception of consciousness and even reality. So we're going to get into that. Everyone should just bear with me. This is going to be mind-blowing when you kind of understand and see it. We're going to get into a couple different slides, and then we're going to break it down further, and the understanding will really, really make sense. So without mind, consciousness, therefore reality, could not take any form or structure anywhere in the universe, whether in a human brain or in the cosmos. So mind is the structuring and ordering of all consciousness. And form and structure could not take place without mind. And so it's kind of, it transcends, like I said, it transcends what we are as mind and what our mind is, because it goes out in all of consciousness. We interpret the world, and we can observe order. And so the patterns that we see, the laws that we observe, the everything that we see, it can only be seen as order if order is already implicated and at the foundation of all of this. So mind transcends everything. It is the original source of creation. So mind it's self-programming. It learns, adapts, and changes its patterns through experience and intentional focus. So mind is self-programming. What we could see mind as is the real version of evolution. Mind is actually the proponent which evolves consciousness and seeks higher and higher complexity and order among the complexity. Mind is interactive. It responds to internal and external stimuli constantly, processing and interpreting reality. So this kind of leans into the mind. It mirrors the mind of the external, the programming force of nature. This sophisticated, advanced technology that everything is based off of. Mind is is interactive. So if you think about it, every planet, every atom, every molecule, it all abides by law. It all abides by a structure and an order. Many people see some of the world as chaos, but in reality, there is a hidden structure of mind beneath it all. So let's get into consciousness. And once we get into these next few, we're going to really break it down, and you're going to see how this world we live in is, and what we are and where we come from. And, everything that exists is actually just the most beautiful, advanced, sophisticated technology that you can ever even conceive of. So let's get into consciousness. So consciousness is the active, unstructured, infinite potential of mind, the underlying field from which all energy, light, and matter emerge. So think about it. Science and the world gets broken up into these smaller and smaller pieces, right? We think the atom is the smallest, then we think, all these different charges or these quarks are the smallest. We're breaking down things into smaller and smaller pieces. But what is science finding out is that it just gets smaller. Because what we're actually understanding and what we're actually studying in science is consciousness. It only gets smaller and smaller. This is why the quantum field and the observer effect is so important, is because it's all consciousness. Everything is consciousness in varying degrees of change, and all of these different things that we see are a manifestation of consciousness. This is why reality is so special, and why we have an influence on things, and why we can change reality is because it's all in our heads, metaphorically. It all comes from a consciousness outside of us. We are a part of a field. We're part of a slice. Let's keep going. So consciousness is the universal information field. It is an expression of mind. So it's quantumly entangled with every particle, wave, or potential state in the universe. Consciousness, operating through mind, functions from the past forward, from the future backward, and from the present in both directions. It's all consciousness. It's the field of infinite potential. This is why humans with our consciousness and with training and with all of these different expressions of consciousness and mental transformations, we can travel back in time. We can, it's really simple when you think about it. You can know events before they happen if you know, in a very simple way. If you slide your hand and you knock something off your desk, you can run through that simulation in your mind. You can predict the future. If I see someone, if I see a stick on the ground, in a traffic sidewalk, I can say, over a certain amount of time, someone will trip. So this is how the world works. It is all consciousness, and consciousness is the expression of mind. This is why we have things, when they study quantum physics and the mind can predict events, and the body can predict events in ways that the most advanced supercomputers of today can't even compete with, because that's all technology. It all needs to be, fueled and run at these super low temperatures. Our minds and our bodies and our brains do this just like it's nothing. It's the most advanced technology you could ever imagine. So as mind moves upon and organizes consciousness, it produces and changes energy, vibration, and form in the material world. So the change from one perception to another, or time, is the result of consciousness continually evolving. So the forward progression of evolution is actually time. And let's back that up. So as mind moves upon and organizes consciousness, it produces and changes energy. So if you think about this from the religious texts, they say that in the beginning it was chaos. Consciousness, in its raw form, in its raw data set, it seems like chaos, and it is chaotic. And so as mind, as the Spirit of God moves upon the waters, consciousness is like the infinite field. It's like an ocean, right? And so as mind moves upon and organizes consciousness, it actually produces and changes energy fields. And that's what we call matter. What we call the material world and structure is the merger of consciousness and mind. It is like a condensation or an evaporation, these changes occurring. That's what the material world is. And the change from one perception to another is actually what time is. But what we know is that one perception to another is just a changing of mind. Consciousness is a ever-evolving dynamic that already exists. It's like the infinite server or data or storage card. All potential comes from consciousness. So let's get into the brain and body, right? This is matter. This is what the material world is. So the brain is a manifestation, a physical manifestation and a mirroring of mind and consciousness. Over time and evolution, the brain has evolved as a physical quantum hardware interface by which mind can simulate an experience of consciousness separate from itself. It's been called the microcosm or the monad, the single slice of consciousness. So think about it. The brain is one of the most sophisticated physical devices and hardware interface. This is like the screen, right? This is like our eyeballs and our heart and all our guts and the brain that's all inside of us. Our body is a reflection of mind and consciousness. So with the brain, humans are so special, and we'll get into that, but we have to remember that humans are very special in this regard, and we would not be here. the brain and body, human consciousness would not exist if there wasn't a purpose, if there wasn't a reason for this to be happening. This is why I do think it's a mistake to assume that humans aren't, something special, and to really be considered as important in the evolution of just consciousness and life itself. So the brain is the interface that allows the operator to access information beyond physics, time, and space. It's the original tool for telepathy, time travel, interdimensional access, and even weaponry. Everything comes from the brain. All the experience we have, we can thank evolution and consciousness and mental organization to have made a brain manifest. It's so special and it's so unique. It's so unique, and to make the mistake that humans aren't special, it's mind-boggling. All of the sci-fi tools and the sci-fi technology, all of these things, they come from real life, the real life existence of the abilities that a mind has. So we are very powerful beings, and this is so special. So let's take a look at all three of these concepts: the mind, consciousness, and the brain and body, together. Let's see what they look like when you look at them from a holistic standpoint. Is that God and man, what we call God? This is why simulation theory is so powerful and why so many people identify with it, because the mind, the organizational program and coding that we call reality, this is what the ancients called the Father, or the Logos, the Word, the influencing field that moves upon an infinite, all-knowing potential. So this is the Logos. All the ancients, they were identifying the scientific technological field of mind and consciousness. And so the brain and body and the matter is the interface. The reason why this is like the most amazing part is that since everything is a mirror, it's all as above, so below. Everyone, we all hear that, but really, how deep does that go, right? It goes really, really deep. And so this is the Trinity, the technologos, right? Logos, it's in the word technology, logos, right? Technologos, right? So this is very crucial and very important to understand what is going on in the world and what they're doing with the technology going on all around us. And so this is the OG, the original intelligence and technology that everyone has access to. For now, there are some people who want to replace this Trinity. They're trying to make this Trinity their own version. So we're gonna get into that. And so let's look at how humanity in the past has used this technology, and what the tool was for trying to align with this. We all want to align with this, right? So if we get into the magic of things, I know this is kind of, this is a lot. Like I said in the first episode, it's a little bit of a lot, right? But we already covered a lot of ground. If you're still sticking around for this episode, awesome. Like, it is so awesome. If you're watching to episode 2, there's no one else. I mean, there's a few people, but I mean, the way that I'm doing things around here, I'm really excited to share it with you because if you stick around, you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to really get your mind going. So, magic is the OG science. The origin of magic stems from prehistoric society and individuals, shamanism, when humanity sought to align themselves with the laws of nature. By identifying these patterns, mind, right? We see the reflection of ourselves out in the external. Predicting events correctly, man could place himself in the optimal natural state, the flow state, the original flow state. You know, science, magic was the original science, and it was more scientific than anything we have today. When they were experimenting, they were experiencing, and they took into account everything. They knew quantum mechanics. They knew all of these things. And maybe they didn't know it through the study of microscopes and fields and all this, but they used the ultimate technology of brain and body as the OG interface of the field, right? The quantum field. So early man found a correlation between thoughts, things, feelings, and intentions that time and space had no effect on. So they knew that their revelations and the knowledge that they were pulling out, they knew that, quantum entanglement. This is like, they have talismans, and they would keep the hair of their grandfather warrior, and they would carry these pieces of the past and of events and the bones and they knew that all these things are connected, because once something gets entangled, it's called sympathetic magic, and everything is connecting to itself. Everything is connected. And that holding on to a stone or a bone or a stick or a piece of hair or a sword or any of these things, the great ancients knew that it all mattered. It was all important. So where modern science dissects reality into fragmented little pieces of atoms and quarks and all of this, ancient magic understood the holistic, unified field of consciousness and energy. They were not primitive, and they were advanced compared to today's day and age study and dissection of small little pieces. I wanted to add a definition. To be specific, magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. And the capital W in will is very crucial, and the uppercase M in magic is critical, because this original magic, it wasn't about doing what you want or getting what you want. This was about aligning with natural law. It was about aligning with the OG technology, right? So if you want to get deeper in your study and understanding of the world and science, look no further than what magic is. And you can find a lot of this information if you go to the One Great Work Network. If you want to explore, I highly recommend checking out Mark Passio's work on this. And there are a lot of great researchers that do this work. And if you want to get a lot of information offline, go to the What on Earth is Happening website. Go to the ARC tab and follow the instructions and get an ARC drive. Because if you want to upgrade your study, I can't even think of a library that is better. I mean, all offline too. It'll all be offline. An infinite trove of information. So, okay, let's get into part 2, which what we see nowadays, what is called technomancy. And technomancy is the practice of using technology as a medium for sorcery, magical influence, divination, or domination. So, technomancy, as I understand it, is not all a bad thing. We're going to be getting into a lot of information, about how we're really getting this stuff used against us and thrown against us. That's not what I'm not here to create fear or to make people question, or not to make people, be afraid of technology. But what I am here to do is make people think of how deep technology goes and how deep these, when you understand technology, when you understand the OG technology, the original technology of the world, the original technology of the ancient ones and the prehistoric societies, you'll really get an understanding of what's being done and how things are getting moved around and how easy it is to influence things. This isn't about saying that we are totally just helpless. Humanity, influencing others or mind controlling others is not about exerting a lot of effort. It's getting the most bang out for your buck and influencing people as most as you can with just a slight little nudge. And these nudges are practically imperceptible, especially when you use technology. And so, rather than getting into a lot of the, and what I'm trying to do here also, another awesome thing about my show is I don't like just explaining and preaching. I'm trying to tell a story as well. I'm trying to lay things out. This is why in my presentation, Everything You Should Already Know, this is why I laid it all out chronologically as best that I could. From I studied everything for so many years, and I really got into it and really turned the afterburners on when I did that presentation, because I wanted to chronologically tell a story that is ultimately about consciousness, and it actually does transcend space and time. So we're going to keep continuing this story here with episode 2. We get into the OG technology, right? The source. And then we got into magic, right? Magic was like the OG science. It was the way that they got into all of it, right? This is how the true interface. Excuse me for 1 second. So, we got into this storyline in episode 2. Another story. It's all a story. We have to be able to see things from a story. So the source, right? Then eventually we got into our evolutionary phase of the brain, which is our onboard hardware, our screen, our interface. And then we got into magic, right? And then what we're going to be getting into is the abuse of this technology. But it doesn't just kick off. It's not an easy, smooth transition. There was a period of consciousness that took place in our ancient past where humanity got switched off from this programming. Something happened. Something happened in our ancient past. And so, what was this event? All we can really do when we look into prehistory, there's only, the evidence trail gets really thin. But at some point, we abandon this consciousness and this, cooperative organizational structure for a civilized one. And if you look into it, the transition, I believe is the Neolithic Revolution, when humanity started alchemizing and really getting into the physicality of things. And, the ancient religions, the prehistoric, and they weren't even really religions, they were animalistic, animistic, and shamanistic beliefs. And they had an egalitarian lifestyle. And for thousands of years they did this. There was conflicts, but war, if you look into the Younger Dryas impact, and I'm not saying that I know everything about this or that I totally believe it or that you should believe it, but around this time, around this impact, and some people think that this was there's plenty of myths, right? The mythology around these things is intertwined. That's the amazing and mysterious part. But something happened, a severing happened, and you didn't see full-scale war, really big warring factions until around this time. I think it was Jebel Arud. There was a really like a mass grave where there was ongoing, where they have a mass grave. It was after this time. So something happened to the earth and something happened to our consciousness that was so traumatizing. Humanity abandoned its old way of life. Something happened, and we get into this slightly into my presentation, but you need to do your own study, because if you look at the drastic changes in consciousness that occurred around this time, it is mind-boggling, and it'll really point you at something that changed the consciousness and the method and humanity's ability to interface with the OG. So they were cut off with nature, and humanity would begin warring with itself, using every means possible to conquer itself and the earth. So you really get into some anti-human sentiment after with the end of the Ice Age, right? And so let's keep going. And we're gonna get into, I think at the end of this, before, I don't want to get too distracted, but before the end of it, if I can remember, this ties into everything. This, the technomancy gets into all things. So let's get into it. We see, the coming of, civilization, and we see, more sorcery, right? And sorcery operates on the principle that the universe and perception are programmable. In as much as we can't change laws, but we can nudge events, and if you master and understand the nature and the natural law, you can bend probability, influence perception, and alter outcomes beyond ordinary causality. So the uninitiated would see just events occurring, yet the sorcerer and those who use technology specifically, they really, they can go a long ways. So the main type of sorcery that goes back into the ancient world is word sorcery, right? So word magic operates through like linguistic encryption and cognitive reprogramming, where controlled vocabularies and semantic distortion limit access to high-level knowledge and influence mental frameworks. By embedding symbolism and doublespeak within legal doctrinal systems, dominant entities, the sorcerer, can execute perception engineering, steering mass cognition and behavioral patterns through subliminal language and constructs. So from the beginning of early history, they used words. They created a language. What's interesting about a lot of people who study the beginning of civilization and just the beginning of history, we study these ancient texts, but guess what? Those cuneiform tablets that go back in time, they were invented by the 0.01%. So when you're reading all of the cuneiforms, when you're reading history, you're reading the perception and the story of the elites, of the sorcerers, of the people in charge. So we all think, oh, this is super powerful religious story and it's all got to be true because it's old and, they preserved it so well. But guess what? You're reading the exact story that they pointed to when it came to creating their civilization and their laws. So that's another thing you have to think about, right? And so civilization was engineered as a control protocol using authority to reprogram human behavior. It's running a hierarchical access system that locks individuals into predefined compliance loops. Before computers, AI, and digital systems, or simulations, civilization itself was the first matrix. It's a fabricated system designed to replace natural reality with an artificial simulated construct that enslaves the mind without rebellion. What do we get? What do we get if you look around you? No one questions civilization. No one even knows what lies at the heart of civilization. Civilization, the word civilization, it comes from the early etymology of the word means like a united group, a united group of people that operates within like a same goal in mind, right? It's like a living spiritual entity. So rather than organization, which is I would consider the prehistoric societies as an organization. They were organized, but they didn't. It wasn't like there was no signs of warring. They didn't force. There was no sign that they forced beliefs. It was a way of teaching and education that led people into a scientific way of being. Whereas what do we get with civilization? It's all based off of, you can have any religion you want as long as it doesn't question the hierarchy, as long as it doesn't question the bloodlines, as long as it doesn't question the book, right? The book, the old book, Civilization is rooted in mind control and trickery. It's the ultimate matrix. And I'm not saying I don't like organization. I'm not saying that it's, you gotta take everything and be able to think about things without just swallowing it all, right? So the myth that this started with religion, which was they were organizing belief systems. So they co-opted ancient spirituality and they inverted the hierarchy of shamans who were serving others. They were servants, right? They were kind of like the outcasts even. And you only went and saw them when you needed help and things were bad. It was like, desperate times, right? Not entire, I'm not saying every society was like that, but they turned the shamans into priest kings, right? They turned them into priests. So now you need someone else. You need to augment your interface. You need to put the chip in, and it is the priest chip, right? So the mental framework of nature was obfuscated into the divine right to rule. And they changed the hierarchy from the OG simulation, the OG, framework and software. They're formatting and overriding the software, right? Because they're overriding your perceptions entirely. It's like rather a cruel and dark analogy is that the dog with the shock collar and the invisible wire fence doesn't get to see anything because he turns around too early. And eventually he just doesn't even go over the line, right? Maybe he does it once or twice, but eventually he stops going over the line. He never thinks about it because something has stopped him from looking outside of the boundaries. And now he doesn't even consider it. And he's a little more defeated, right? So let's get into, so religion is they co-opted the whole spiritual movement. Religion is like, you know, they're overwriting the software, the OG software. We're going to get a little bit more into some technological jargon because people need to understand this from a technology side of things. Okay, I'm going to pick up the pace here because I'm trying to get you guys this information without me carrying on too much. So, anyway, war was the OG reprogramming, trauma, pain, fear. Police and military function as execution protocols deploying, it's funny, execution, right? Execution protocols deploying coercion algorithms to enforce state-issued commands through physical and psychological control, overriding autonomy with fear-based scripting. These are biomechanical access controllers running real-time deterrence protocols to jailbreak resistance and maintain population-wide behavioral synchronization. People don't even question things. People say, Aaron, aren't you afraid that, you talking crap or you exploiting their system? Aren't you afraid? No, I'm not afraid. I don't have a choice. It sucks that these people believe what they believe. Of course it sucks. And, I'm out here doing this, and everyone knows it doesn't make you popular in their eyes. But every great patriot was at odds with their government at that time. I do hope that I fall into the lines of being patriotic and that I am a true warrior in that sense. And I am a true believer in freedom and what that can do. And I know what freedom can do. America, if we would shake off the American dream and we would see what the founding fathers were doing and what they actually fought for, the founding fathers weren't police, okay? And they weren't like just soldiers. They were regular people who understood nobody can live ruled by other people. Now, they were limited. Their beliefs at the time, they still believed in the hierarchy, right? They still did some things that were pretty cruel. But it's the patriots' job in this day and age, the modern patriots, to take it further. To take it even farther than what the patriots back then did. And, if you want things to change and we have a system in place. We have that system going to hell in a handbasket right now, and we see our president, right? We see our president and the people around him, they're getting attacked, and, we better get on them to understand true freedom and natural law, because they're dragging into the golden age this mentality. They're bringing in their old programming into new software. Try running Adobe Premiere on technology from the 90s. Try running Adobe Premiere 2025 from like the latest 1990 whatever 9 to early 2000s software. That's the equivalent of bringing in the the old way into the new way. It can't be done. It won't function. It'll crash. It won't even operate. Won't even boot up, right? So let's keep moving forward. Another one that is still the old way, and this is an old way, and we have to take everything further and push the envelope. So money. Money functions as a behavioral programming language, converting human effort, time, and morality into quantifiable data points. Debt acts as a ransomware exploit, trapping individuals in infinite repayment loops, while interest operates as a hidden background process, ensuring continuous value extraction. The financial system enforces a scarcity algorithm, overriding ethical decision making with self preservation logic, turning morality into a risk assessment function. So it modifies our behavior because we're converting our effort and our time and our moral upstanding into data points. What is this worth, right? If I sacrifice, this moral behavior, you go back into, war and the police and military. What are they doing? They're trading their morality in for data points and for freedom. I call it freedom tokens, right? So it's a ransomware exploit. Debt is a ransomware exploit. Traps individuals in infinite repayment loops while interest operates as a hidden background process. The interest is in the background, right? So let's keep it moving here. So education. This is a big one. And a lot of this, if this is what everyone needs to understand. These things, religion, money, civilization, these are technologies. These are the oldest technologies still being ran today. So modern education functions as a cognitive operating system that is installed in a child's mind during its formative years. Depending on the programming environment, this OS can either optimize the child for subordination, slave mode, or executive function, dominator mode, right? So the education that we see, we call it education, really it's training. Are you going to be the slave or are you going to be the dominator? Here's another interesting thing. The public education system, that's all the slave OS. The private education system, dominator OS. So you get into the fraternities, you get into the rich, hoity-toity, fancy people who were plucked out, right? They pluck people out of the public system. If you score high, if you excel, then they turn you into the dominator, right? You're the leader, right? You're the ruler of the people. You get to tell them what to do and what to think. So this is actually what education is. It's a program, right? It's taking over and hijacking the OG system, the OG simulation. Media functions as a behavioral exploitation framework designed to inject, execute, and maintain control over human cognitive processing by targeting low-level firmware vulnerabilities, specifically the primal fear circuits hard-coded into the biological operating system. All of media, in the large sense, they're taking advantage of your primal instincts. That's why, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Everyone knows that media, what is all of social media? It's all a yacht, women on a yacht and a dude with six-pack abs, right? And a gold chain, telling you how great that life is. It's because it's exploiting symbolism to keep you in a lower primate brain, right? That's what the media operates as. So science. Let's look at science. So science, marketed as an open source pursuit of truth, modern science functions as a permissioned ledger where pre-approved data sets dictate reality source code and peer-reviewed firewalls block unauthorized hypotheses, just like malware. The scientific priesthood acts as root administrators, enforcing a materialist-only kernel that quarantines non-physical variables like consciousness and metaphysics, ensuring reality remains a forced consensus simulation with no external plugins allowed. Science has done more harm than anyone could even imagine to keep people in a materialistic severing from the true source code, the true, real God simulation and mind and consciousness. Let's get into medicine. Modern medicine operates as a patch-based system designed to mask the symptoms of an artificial reality framework, rather than debug its root-level dysfunctions. Engineered as a closed-loop economic exploit, it perpetually generates new system vulnerabilities, diseases, while withholding pre-existing security patches, cures, ensuring users remain in an infinite update cycle of dependency rather than achieving full system restoration. I mean, if that doesn't say it all, what does it say, right? Everyone innately knows this. Do you think that what's going on in medicine right now, do you think that RFK, do you think that he's going hard enough, against this stuff? Do you think he's going to be able to do it without your help? If you know something about medicine, you know the real genuine cause of disease. Are they really going to go after the genuine cause? If they were really going after it, how soon, how soon are they going to start removing the colors and the natural flavors and, the artificial flavors, right? It's all about the artificial world. Artificial intelligence, right? We have to remember, well, I'll get into that. Let's keep going, right? So let's get into big tech, right? What is the big tech? This one's should be relatively quick. So big tech and all its extremities is a global virtualization layer, replacing organic reality with an AI-governed simulation that intercepts universal data streams of consciousness and injects false input packets into human perception. So this says a lot, right? I guarantee this is going to, the NRO, Elon Musk, SpaceX, they're going to be making this. You're probably barely going to be able to see Earth. They want to have such a sophisticated grid influencing things. And I'm not saying it's all bad. It's great. Technology is going to advance, right? We all know technology is going to advance. The thing is, the consciousness that is programmed into these AI systems, all of these satellites are interconnected already with AI. And the National Reconnaissance Office, if you get onto their website, we can take a look at this because I want to get into this. If I don't get into it now, probably never will. So let's get into the NRO wiki, right? Let's go to this because I want to explain something. They have been increasing their launches, right? So NRO announced in 2023 that it plans to, within the following decade, to quadruple the number of satellites. They have a lot of launches. And Starlink and SpaceX is a huge contractor with them. They're getting new faces in. And so when you see people like Anduril, Palantir, SpaceX, all of these people, they're not just new guys on the block. And maybe they're new guys on the block, but they're not actually new. They've been connected into these organizations and facilities for a long time. So let's get into what I was going to talk about. Okay, let's get into the... Oh, let's get over here. Close that. Get over here. Do the old Control F. It's called sentient. Oh, here it is. So sentient is an automated artificial intelligence analysis system under development by the NRO. They've been talking about sentient since I think it was 2010 or 2011. It goes back far. They already have this stuff. Whatever they're telling you is the stuff that they're allowed to, because it's not a risk anymore, right? So they can't... this organization was secret for a long time, right? So it's compiling at machine versus human speed synthesis of complex distributed data sources for rapid analysis faster than humans can manage. According to Robert Cardillo, a former director of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the sentient system is intended to use automated referencing to aid intelligence collection. The Verge described sentient as an omnivorous analysis tool capable of devouring data of all sorts, making sense of the past, present, and anticipating the future, and pointing satellites towards what it determines will be the most interesting parts of that future. This, if you can comprehend this, it gets so deep, right? This is... Here's the deal with AI watching everything you do, predicting your purchases at the grocery store. You know, don't buy the wrong ingredients in the wrong order because a satellite will probably start watching you or something. This is really wild. Here's the deal with the AI governance. Humans in our state as we are right now, most humans don't actually understand that consciousness, with its accepting of authority and government as the gods to protect them. You know, we're putting faith in them. All of the programming and the consciousness and the shadow. See, AI coding, it's not just about everything that they've coded it with. It's about what they haven't coded it with and the spaces in between their coding. So the shadow of human consciousness, anything we do, it gets put into our work. So what we're going to be getting with AI is not going to be sentient. It's going to be a human version. It's going to be like if you downloaded into someone all of the information without a moral framework of, you know, of true objective right and wrong. And so it is possible to encode this. However, we're going to be outsourcing so much of this. You know, it's a blessing and a curse if you think about it, that, you know, maybe, well, ideally, if you're going to have a government, and I disagree with much of that, if you're going to have a government, would you rather have it a judge that, you know, depending on what time he ate lunch and what his blood sugar levels are, is going to be whether you get a life sentence or not? I don't know. I mean, I would probably much rather prefer an objective, all collecting informational machine that can look at my algorithm and my data sets, rather than a judge. I mean, wouldn't anyone rather have something? Well, ideally, I would have a jury of my peers, right? That's what it used to be, except when you get into everyone nowadays, nobody has any peers because nobody is connected with each other. So the AI that's going to be watching us is like a cop, right? He's super sus. super suspect of you, and you're just nothing but a criminal, and if not, he'll wait until you are a criminal, right? That's what cops, I'm not gonna shit on cops too bad. We're gonna have plenty of time for that. Whoops. So this neural hijacking protocol rewires cognitive processing to interpret artificial stimuli, social media, algorithmic narratives, digital constructs, and artificial flavors as a proxy for reality, enforcing a mind control firmware update that locks users into a synthetic thought matrix, disconnecting humanity from raw, unfiltered existence. So we're only getting what the system feeds. The town next door to you, excuse me. Excuse me for 1 second, please. So, the town next door over from you, it could be on fire. And, we have to catch up to the technology, the OG technology, and the technology that's being used against us. So, when I say things, a lot of people are going to be like, it's conspiratorial, it might be inciting a little too much fear, but I don't think humanity is really waking up to the amount, the absurd otherworldly technology that we have. So the town next door from you could be getting burned up at any second. And as long as your phone doesn't buzz, you wouldn't even know. As long as they isolate the pocket of people with cell phones into that region, nothing gets out, nothing goes in. No one would even know. They could turn on the wind, right? They'll turn on the wind and blow the smoke into a direction that you don't even notice. They can't even, it's really like that. It really is like that. And we're so disconnected that you wouldn't even know what's going on. Even in the house next to you. We would all rather outsource our responsibility to someone else rather than go check on your neighbors. So anyways, part 4 is going to be get out, right? We have to take over. We have to get out of the matrix, and that means not just leaving the world that we're in. We have to operate as if we live here, because we do. And so we have to exit the mental framework that is making us dependent and using the matrix or the simulated reality for, our input and our processing. So escape. If we get into escape, it's called escape, but what you're really doing is powering through it. To exit the artificial control grid, one must overwrite the imposed mental firmware and reconnect to universal data streams, consciousness, using technology as an amplifier of sovereignty rather than a tool of enslavement. So, our technology, our mind, our brain, our bodies, our voice, all of this technology, the universal data stream, consciousness, the cures, the natural parts of reality that are a part of us, this is how we heal ourselves. When you tune into nature, when you tune into reality, just the simple quantum level of our voice, and putting ourselves against, against the grain and against, with friction, it heals us. And using the technology you have, your voice and your computer, even, your cell phone, anything you can, using these things are really how we override and remove and rinse off this firmware and this bad programming, this simulation, right? So escape step 1 is unplug from false data streams by cutting reliance on algorithmic stimuli, media, and social conditioning, big tech narratives, and filtering all information through a natural law firewall, truth, morality, and free will, right? So turn on the filter, learn natural law, learn how your mind works, learn these things, and filter what you observe through these. Restore sovereign thinking through direct knowledge acquisition, self-learning, ancient wisdom, and harness ethical, decentralized tech to enhance consciousness, privacy tools, biofeedback, and regenerative energy. So use and create. We need new technology that isn't controlled. Excuse me. So restore sovereign thinking. We have to start understanding where the source is. Stop when we allow, big tech or these government entities to tell us, and right now it's bigger than ever, and we're hoping that these things are going to be good for us, right? We're hoping that the new administration is going to be good for us, but ultimately, if you're a patriot, what you need to be doing is helping your community. And we're all part of these little pockets, right? We're all part of a tech crowd. We're all part of like a spiritual crowd. We're all part of, if you're a military guy or a police guy or a construction worker or whatever it is, you have to hone in what your knowledge base is and work in that community and work in that field to enlighten, to here's the thing about our system is that authority, when you get into this, it transcends, it's not just about helping others. It's about not following bullshit orders like don't participate with projects in your job that have to do with giving technology and giving a system more power over other people and more authority over other people. Like, the government has all of the badass technology and we have none of it. We don't even have access to the information it can procure. And it's all a point of national security, right? So is that really what we want? Do we really want, guardians and someone else making decisions for us? I don't think that we do. And I think there's going to be a blessing and a curse coming into the new period that we're heading into. So we have to reintegrate with organic data streams by syncing with raw reality, nature, meditation, and unfiltered experience to recalibrate biological and metaphysical sensors. So our body is so powerful. And when you get into like the chakra system, when you start understanding this, you are like something so special and so sophisticated that they can't replicate. Nothing can replicate the amount of information that the human processes. So we have to exit the fear matrix by shifting from compliance-based programming to a creation-based reality. So we have to focus our will on creation and how to aid creation, how to aid natural law, how to push natural law, how to further the evolution rather than doing what you're told, rather than just going along to get along. Creation and the force of creation is always pushing the envelope, and it's always casting old systems aside for a new, better, more efficient, natural, they say, water follows the path of least resistance. Well, so does evolution, and it does it perfectly. And if humanity begins to align themselves with natural law and free will and freedom and moral alignment, there is no place we can't go. There's no place we can't go. And when you truly understand the technology you were given, you're not going to need telepathy through a brain chip. You're not going to need any of these things, because what we already have innate in us is so much better and more natural. And you're not going to, no one can turn your chip off, right? So step 3 is build autonomous human networks through parallel systems, self-sustaining communities, while deploying conscious expanding technology and spiritual sciences to elevate human potential. Jailbreak the economic OS by exiting the debt loop algorithms, decentralizing finances, and rejecting scarcity-based mind control models. So this all gets into humanity can have such a free world. It could be so great. It really could, and we need to not be afraid of this. What we need to do is debug the system from its authority and slave operating system. That's ultimately what it is. So I would like to thank everybody for watching and following along. This is where I'm going to end the podcast, and I'm going to hang out a little longer, and I'm going to do a live stream. But thank you everyone for watching. This has been episode 2 of the Holy Warship podcast, aka the Takeover. I hope that you've enjoyed listening, and I hope that you have, just got some pieces of information that really help you. It has been awesome hanging out with you.